I've just spent close to 3 weeks exploring Australia's outback by driving one of the country's and the world's most remote public tracks. I'm coming to the end of my expedition, which for me has made such an impression on me that all I want to do now is do it all over again. This is called New Moon Camp. We decided to call it that because of an absolutely glorious new moon setting, and away from the spinifex grass so we can have a lovely fire.
First fire in a long time, eh?
And in the background, delicate sounds of
I've got a brown bag.
cooking around the camp.
Smoked oysters,
Yes.
goat's cheese. What else is for supper? Goat's cheese. Wow.
Goat's cheese, chicken, sage.
This evening, Justin and Laura are cooking dinner.
Shallots.
Not onions, but shallots that we've carried all this way.
The fact that we have fresh
we're not-
chicken and fresh shallots at this stage of the trip.
It'll give Paul and I a welcome relief from pasta.
We did see a rabbit earlier.
We do.
Yeah, we did.
Rabbits for tomorrow night.
And of course,
What you guys are carrying in your car beggars belief.
I cannot believe it. No, we did pick the right people to partner with to come and travel with
But
us.
we didn't eat enough with them.
Yes. Yeah.
Unless, of course, you want pasta.
Yeah, we did offer our pasta, but they turned it down.
They turned it down. And I wonder why.
Because one of us would burn it probably, and the rest of it.
Okay, and it was one night. I don't know. I just. It's been an interesting day's driving today. Quite easy going, rough at times, some bad corrugations, but lots of oncoming traffic, far more than we've seen during, in fact, the whole trip, except perhaps with the exception of day one. And perhaps a lot of people were travelling during the school holidays or now want to escape the school holidays and left together. But it's a bit of a mystery because in the middle of the route we saw hardly anybody at all, and know of no other people travelling north-south, which is a bit odd. But it definitely feels like it's winding up. We're winding up the trip. There's a sense that we're getting back into civilization. And although it's another 300 kilometres of the Canning Stock route, that's 3 full days driving before we get to Wiluna, the last point. It's not feeling remote anymore. And I think it's another reason, another really good reason, to actually do the trail from north to south, because I think the best bits are in the north and in the middle. My impression is that it's not, from now on, it's going to be very similar to what we saw today. So I'm wrong again. Another spring adorned with ghost gum trees. This is well 6, and obviously a very popular camping site. Those wells that have been refurbished, some of them have been furnished with bits of history, little photograph and a story, an anecdote of the pioneers of this area. And while these programs that I'm producing now are really not about the Canning Stock route and its history, but more how it can be enjoyed now, the history is amazing, particularly the interaction of the settlers with the Aboriginal peoples. And amongst that was some wonderful things that happened and some terrible things that happened. And many of those are shared on these plaques.
Oh, she was heavy enough.
This is the last opportunity that we will have to top up our water tanks on this trip. With well 6 behind us, so are the dunes. It's hard to believe that we've crossed over 1,000 of them. And we still have a little over 200 kilometers to go before the last point, which is Wiluna. And this morning we've been greeted again and again and again by these vistas, this never-ending plains, this vast country. And while we've travelled close to 1,600 kilometers from the starting point, we're still in the middle of Australia. It's hard to fathom the size of this continent. Anyway, on we go. We are heading towards Winditch Springs. This will probably be the second last camp on the route. From here, the section of the track crosses Kunyu Station property. Basically, this is a cattle station. It's private property. And they've got certain rules that they've put in place. For example, no trailers and no large vehicles. And the reason why they've done that is, particularly with trailers, is they are so tired of helping people with broken trailers that they've just said no more trailers. That's it, blanket ban. So there should be a camping area about in the middle. There's a spring, so we're going to see if we can make it there by nightfall. With good maps and good GPS maps that we're using, navigation has actually been very, very easy. But this morning we made a mistake. The road there goes for about 8 kilometers, very gnarly, quite challenging, and it just stops. And that track is on our map, and that track, which is the right one, is not. So keep your wits about you, I guess. We're going to block this one off and do a favour for a few other passing travellers, so they know that it's not this track. That is not the Canning Stock route. During our morning's drive, we've been entertained by large flocks of budgerigars.
Whoa!
Very satisfying. Right, Winditch Springs. We're quite close to well 4B. I don't know why well 4 is separated into 4A and 4B. They're two separate springs. And we're at a campsite. And I'm using the GoPro stick as a fly swatter because the flies here are really, really bad. It's all part of being in a cattle area. The ground, a lot of it is denuded from cattle grazing. Yeah, the flies are kind of to the point where they could actually spoil everything. I've had worse in the past, but they're bad, and it's the cattle areas that bring them. Okay, there's the sign, pretty crude as it is, to Halls Creek. We've just come from Halls Creek, of course, and now heading for Wiluna. And this is Winditch Spring. Some campsites have been refurbished and are supplied with a dunny. A dunny is an Australian word, I think it's Australian, and it's one of those. Can you hear that sound? That's not the dunny making the noise, that is a bird. It's called a GoPro bird, and it's It sounds exactly like a GoPro turning off. Listen. Come on. Oh well. Yes, well. This is my view from the dunny. Now there are a few signs that says keep the toilet lid closed. That is absolutely vital for the disposal and disintegration of the waste matter, ecologically speaking. So I'm going to turn off now. This morning is very typical of my day on the trail. I woke up before sunrise, as it is now, jumped out of the car, grabbed my camera equipment, grabbed my tripod, fit the camera to the tripod, fit the microphone to the camera, make sure everything's working, do a quick test shot, make sure everything's fine, change the battery because the battery was weak, and then start filming incredible sunrise, trees. This morning, that astonishing, bewitching sound of the butcher bird. And after I've recorded that, 15 minutes, I then have a pee. I was busting for a pee from 3 o'clock this morning. Too cold to get up and too busy. Too many things. Worried about missing them. Too many things to capture on camera. Like this, for example. Typical morning in the bush for me. We're less than 200 kilometres from the end of the Canningstock route, having started 16 days ago at Halls Creek, and it's quite a thing. I read on a map actually, and it said that the Canningstock route is one of the loneliest public tracks in the world, and you know it is. Can you think of a track that is, let's put it this way, 1,600 plus kilometres long, no roads during that period of time, only just one, tiny settlement, population approximately 70, on that route. While we were driving through some farms, there weren't any farmers. The farms are so big, they're hundreds of kilometres across. So you see, so no people. How many dwellings did we see on that 1600 route? Apart from the village, none. Not one. Shops, supplies, places to get spares, places to get help. None. Just that one small village, 675 kilometres from Halls Creek. That's astonishing. I don't know of another track like this in the world. I certainly have never travelled another trip like this in the world. And I'm finding it a little bit difficult to kind of grasp that achievement. There are people in this country that covered the Canningstock route all their lives, and they want to do it, because, you know, it's a long trip. For most people, it's at least 3 to 4 weeks as a round trip. It's expensive, not only just to get to the start point, but you need good vehicles, good equipment, and It's a really challenging vehicle trip, and yet it's very popular. Thousands, and I don't know how many thousands, I've heard varying reports, of people do the canning stock every year. Crowded? Not at all. But it is definitely one of those tick box items in Australian overlanding. And I've just done it as my very first Australian Outback experience. And I'm overwhelmed. Hard right. Yeah, and now left. For our final campsite, we've chosen an elevated table of bare red rock where the intensity of the setting sun is unfettered. As we edge nearer and nearer the end of our expedition, with well 3 behind us, well 2, which is a public campsite ahead of us, and well 1, which is right next to the town of Wiluna, I need to thank those people that made this possible. BF Goodrich Tyres, Quick Pitch Campers in Wangara, just north of Perth. Thank you for your efforts in building me an amazing truck. ARB Wangara, first class. Who else? Sinorama and Joondalup for the wrap. It's worked brilliantly. Not a scratch on the truck. Who else? Alucab, Perth Diesel Performance. All of those who contributed. Your products will be highlighted during the presentation of this video. If you haven't seen the videos at this point, go back and have a look at them. All the products I've used, all the products I've tested. We had one breakage on the entire trip, just one, and it was something that I made to mount the HEMA HX1 Explorer on the console, and it snapped. The only breakage on the whole trip. Thank you so much for watching. In the final episode in this series, I'll talk about the truck, the best parts, the worst parts, and those parts that are so good that they're beyond good, they've become truly fantastic. I look forward to seeing you then. If you would like to be part of what I do and help me make more videos, support me on Patreon.